Wrestling with Doubt. Hello and welcome to Some Assembly Required, our podcast here at Wainfleet BIC Church, where we discuss life through the lens of our Anabaptist roots. My name is Julie Adams and I'm joined by Pastor Brandon Claveau.
Hi, Julie.
Hi, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, glad to be together here as we continue in our wellness series or wholeness series, I guess, with different topics that we wrestle with. So we've been through, I don't know if I can recall them all, maybe your memory is better, wrestling with God, wrestling with anger.
And I think suffering.
Was
the last week.
So 3.
Yep.
And then wrestling with doubt.
Wrestling with doubt. Yeah, this was, when we talked about kind of sermon, like doing our sermon planning, the subject of doubt came up. I really felt like I want to talk about that. It's a big one for me. It's a big part of kind of my journey. So, sort of every one of these sermons that we've done, it's we're telling someone else's story or allowing somebody to kind of give their testimony about the thing that we're talking about. So I wanted to do doubt because I personally have experience with that. And so I sort of start the sermon off by telling my story. I don't say that it's me right off the hop, but it really is a big part of kind of what has shaped me and made me me. So I went through a season when I was, I guess it would have been 24-ish, where like I really started wrestling with doubt. And I think I hit a point where like I had grown up in the church, like many of us do, and just kind of being a Christian that's just what I was. Yeah. And then I think I hit a point where like suddenly kind of just that inherited faith wasn't doing it anymore. Yeah. And so I really started to ask questions and really started to feel like I need to figure out what I believe. Yeah. And so it sent me down this, wormhole of getting really into apologetics and philosophy and listening to a lot of podcasts and reading a lot of books and really just trying to understand what I believe and why I believe it, and to, I guess, go from, just kind of following in my parents' footsteps or, just staying in the church because that's where I've always been. Yeah. I wanted to, and it needed to, like, I needed my faith to be my own. And for me, like, truth is very important, and I don't want to believe anything that's not true. Yeah. And so, I ended up spending a lot of time during this season, looking at, like, is this true? And spoiler alert, I'm a pastor now, so I
so you must have found an answer.
Yeah, I came to believe that yes, it's true. But then the other thing that I've carried with me ever since then is that maybe it's just me, but I think for a lot of people, like, we have these doubts and we have these questions, and it doesn't have to be like a scary thing. Yeah. I think it's something we don't talk about enough in the church. It's almost like a taboo thing.
Well, I think that faith is often seen as the opposite of doubt, or they're seen as opposites. Yes. And everyone wants to be someone of faith, of something, and I think that when you're living in a Christian community, if you show characteristics that are the opposite, then it's scary. Yeah. Yeah.
And I agree with you. I think that they are seen as opposites. And I guess a big part of kind of what was in the back of my mind as I was putting the sermon together is sort of thinking about, like, are they really opposites, or like are they mutually exclusive, or is there a sense in which that you can have doubt and faith? And so the examples that I was drawn to talking about were people like Gideon or Thomas. Yep. There's a father whose son is, he suffered from a demon, and all three of those people, they have doubts. Gideon's trying to figure out, is God going to use him in the way that God said he was? So he does what's called laying a fleece, and basically he tests God, which we're not supposed to do.
Yeah.
But he does that. He does it twice, and so he's doubting, but he has enough faith that he goes to God for the answer.
Yeah.
He's seeking, and then Thomas too. Everyone knows Thomas as doubting Thomas.
Yeah.
But him too, like when the disciples come to him and say, like, we've seen the risen Jesus. I think for Thomas, like, I don't know that I would be able to believe just from the testimony of my friends that, my rabbi and teacher that I've watched be horribly murdered. Like, the Romans were good at killing people.
Yes.
They did not make mistakes. And like, if I'd seen, my teacher and my friend crucified after going through all that, I don't know that I would be able to just believe, oh, he's back from the dead now. I think there's a lot of emotional baggage that you'd have to let go of. But again, I think he wanted to believe when the disciples told him. I think he wanted desperately to believe that Jesus had been risen, but he needed evidence of that.
Yeah.
And so again, there is a tension between doubt and faith, but I don't think that they're mutually exclusive. I think at least for some people, it's they exist alongside one another. And I think it's a matter of what do you do with the doubts? If you allow them to defeat you, then it's, you're probably gonna lose your faith. But if you sort of let me go back.
Sure.
So one of the things that I talk about in my sermon is I talk about the idea of wrestling. So we call this series Wrestling. Well, the series is wellness or whatever, but each sermon title is Wrestling with blank. So this was Wrestling with Doubt. So when you think of the word wrestling, it implies that there's more than one thing going on.
Yeah.
So like that, the doubt and the faith they're in a wrestling match, but I don't think it's like one is necessarily trying to oust the other. I think it's a matter of learning how to live with both of them, as like strange bedfellows.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then like what all of this boils down to for me is just, I want to encourage people.
Yeah.
As I was putting this sermon together, the biggest thing in the back of my mind, and partly because I was told just before I started working on this that somebody knows is going through a season of doubt, and they really hope that this sermon is helpful for them. So that was kind of in the back of my mind all throughout this, and just wanting to encourage people that if you are in a season of doubt, it's normal. There's like a long list of spiritual giants who went through like very, very difficult seasons of doubt, and for like long periods of time. Like Mother Teresa is one that I mentioned. After she passed away, these letters, I think there were letters, were discovered where she had spent like decades, writing to people about these struggles she was having. Yeah. As she's, serving the poor in Calcutta, and Charles Spurgeon, who's, like, he'd be like on the Mount Rushmore of of preachers, and even C.S. Lewis. Yep. And so it's like we're in good company. Yeah. Those of us who are, wrestling with doubt. And so, I wanted to encourage people that like, you're not alone. You're not weird. It's,
and you shouldn't be ashamed of it or feel funny about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I just wanted to encourage people that if you are in a season of doubt, talk about it. Find people to talk about it. Look for answers and pray. And I mean, I guess that's kind of that. Like, you can be a person of faith and still have doubts. And I would argue that my faith now, having gone through that, is stronger. You know, I know now why I believe what I believe. And so I think there's a healthiness to asking questions and to
seeking the truth.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where should we go if someone has doubts? Like, what are some good resources? Do you have authors, or should someone just reach out to you for a list of maybe books or websites or something?
I would say reach out to me.
Yeah.
'Cause I mean, I've got lots that I can pass along, but I would want to tailor it more to
yes,
kind of who it is and what they're
actually struggling with. Yeah.
One book that I really enjoyed, and it's one of the few like apologetics books that I've continued to want to go back to. It's called Unapologetic, and it's sort of the tagline is something like, despite everything, why Christianity still makes emotional sense. And it's like, it's really honest. Like, he actually uses some rough language in it.
Yeah.
I think he's a British journalist, and just the way he talks about faith and Christianity, you know, the sort of how it makes sense of what we think and feel and experience in the world. So that's a really good one I would recommend. And then there's lots of other ones more specific to philosophy or science or whatever that I could pass along.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Do you have an encouragement to leave us off with today?
I guess I just want to reiterate, like, don't think that you're defective if you have doubts. It doesn't mean your faith is waning. It might mean that your faith is growing, and that you have to answer some questions, or try to answer some questions, or learn how to live alongside questions that you might never have answers to in this life.
Yeah. Sometimes I find comfort in that we're not supposed to know everything right now. I find that very comforting. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. If you'd like to reach Pastor Brandon, he's got a list of books or resources that you can, that he's happy to pass along. Or if you want to chat with him about anything, you can reach him at brandon@waynefleetbic.com. And my email address is julie@waynefleetbic.com. So thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to connecting with you next week. Have a great week.